Hi, it's Luana from Equilter.com, and I just wanted to come and say hello after I got back from Quilt Canada. I was in Vancouver, British Columbia, in Canada, the end of last week over the weekend. And even though it was a little bit rough getting home, the airport was kind of crazy. I'm back here and I have lots of photos. I've started to post some of the photos of the quilts on my Flickr page. You'll see the link to that in the newsletter. But also, I just wanted to talk to you about the wonderful experience I had because I want to encourage you to do the same thing, and that is to get out in nature. Man, we've been cooped up with the pandemic for 2.5 years, and I was able to take a cruise out to Vancouver Island to visit Victoria and Bouchard Gardens. And, you don't realize how much you miss something until you do it. Well, part of that was going to the quilt show and being able to hug people in person, which was huge. I will say that probably like you, my mental health has had a little tattering around the edges, having to stay locked up for 2.5 years. So anyway, it was great to get out, see old friends, look at some beautiful quilts in person, and then get out in nature. So I just want to show a couple images to you that I snapped while I was on the cruise. This was at sunset. And those of you who live up in like the Seattle area and of course up in the Vancouver area, you know that there are many, many ferries. I think they said there were 47 routes in the area. Huge ferries, little ferries. The one that I went on had, I think it holds 450 vehicles. It's hard to comprehend, isn't it? There were 6 levels. But coming back in the evening, it was a 13-hour trip. It was a long day, but coming back during the sunset time and seeing the sun coming down on the water was just so beautiful and so peaceful. I didn't see any dolphins or orcas or blue whales, which we were told we might see. But, during the day, I was able to see some sea lions and also some deer. I saw a beautiful buck standing on the side of the road in the forest with velvet antlers, which is really special, and lots of hummingbirds. I had super close encounters in the gardens with hummingbirds. So this was the ferry. This is a ferry that I took at the end of the day. And if you've never done this before, this particular ride that I took from Vancouver City out to Victoria in Vancouver Island, it was an hour and 40 minutes. It was very relaxing, and it was just like, I don't want Wi-Fi. I don't want to look at my phone. I just want to go out on the deck and breathe the fresh air and look at the forest and the water and the sky, and it was a beautiful experience. So I highly recommend that. But the other thing that I did while I was there was to go to Bouchard Gardens. And actually, I think my stepdad told me about Bouchard Gardens like 35 or 40 years ago. He had been there many decades ago. He's gone now, but he had said, "Man, if you ever get up to that area, you got to go see Bouchard Gardens." So I finally made it. And what I didn't realize, they're over 100 years old. It was a wealthy family who had a cement company, and they bought a limestone quarry. And when you go on the tour, there's a photo of the limestone quarry before they create what they call the sunken garden. And so they turned the limestone quarry into this fabulous garden. And you can go down into the garden. Now, because of our tour, we didn't have as much time as I would like. I'd like to go back and spend a day or two there. But that's looking down from the rim of the original quarry, looking down. And of course, now it's all completely covered with forest and shrubs and flowers and just, incredible, really fabulous experience. And of course, there are flowers everywhere. And while I was there, the real showstopper flowers were the peonies, and I'm a real fan of peonies myself. So here's a couple shots, and I'll be sharing more of these on my Flickr page, but I just thought I'd share a few of these quickly with you. If you've never been there, if you're thinking about going, you'll have an idea of what it is. And, it's huge. I mean, there are, 7 or 8 huge gardens within this gigantic property. And there are phantoms and totem poles. And, this is one of my favorite spots, this little fern glade at the base of an ancient tree. I was just waiting for the hobbits to leap out from behind the ferns. And also the iris garden. This is where I had the close encounter with the hummingbirds. They were too fast for me to get a photo, but I did get this fat, fuzzy bee who was working the iris patch. And I have a thing for fat, fuzzy bees. So you may have noticed that we do carry lots of fabrics about honeybees and honey and pollinators now. And well, here's a close up shot of one of those fellows. So, what I wanted to share with you today is just, gosh, the joy of being able to go to the beach or to go to the lake and just be by the water and enjoy the sun and the sound of the waves. And we do collect fabrics that reflect that because we know that in the summertime and really year round, you guys like to travel, and I know a lot of you bring handwork, but you may also take photographs and you may come home and say, that was a really special trip. I would like to remember that by making a quilt. So we make sure that we have all different kinds of fabrics that will reflect all the different kinds of experiences that you may have when you travel. So that ranges from the national parks. If you go into U.S. travel, one of our categories, you'll see that we have many of the national parks and U.S. parks that are represented in these kind of retro poster forms. But also, what I'm showing you here are just a few of my favorite beach fabrics. And so, for those of you who like to wander along the seashore and collect seashells or look for sea glass, you can pick up some fabrics that express the experiences or the memories that you've had. And that may also include going to a historic beach area where they have these changing rooms. I have pictures of my grandparents on Venice Beach in California in the 20s in front of actually a row of these changing houses, which I think is really cute. But also lately, we have been seeing some more really fun prints by new modern designers of women at the beach. And so here's one of them, the ladies that are just hanging out and floating on their inner tubes. And this one I thought was fun too, because ladies of different shapes and colors and sizes who are also hanging out, floating around and having a good time and maybe sipping on some tropical drinks poolside at the same time. Have you had a trip like that? I need a trip like that. Maybe that'll be my next trip. And um, and then if you are somebody who enjoys going to Hawaii, we have a whole category of Hawaiian fabrics. And of course, if you're going to the beach, you have to have some flip-flops, right? So you might put something like that in your quilt. But also, like one of the things that I like to do is to photograph wildlife. And I've been on several whale watching trips whenever I get the chance. I didn't get to see any whales on this trip, unfortunately, but I have gone on whale watching trips when I've been in Hawaii when we used to go and visit Paul's parents there. And, I don't know if there's anything more exciting than seeing one of those whales breaching out of the water or coming up close to the boat and checking you out. And of course, if you're going to make a whale or a beach quilt, you have to have some of these coordinating water or wave fabrics to go with it, right? And perhaps you're thinking of something a little more colorful. Maybe you've gone snorkeling and you enjoy having the experience of seeing the coral reef and the colorful tropical fish up close, or maybe you're really interested in more exotic or ethnic uh, artwork, or even indigenous artwork that personally, I love those Hawaiian tattoos, those really graphic designs that are made with more of a Polynesian feel to it. And you see those same type of graphics in Maori art, for instance. So I really like this turtle print down the bottom here. That's kind of a colorful version of that. So anyway, I just want to let you know that I support you getting out there and going on a summer trip and enjoying the sky and the water and the waves and the wildlife, and we've got the fabrics to go with it when you get home, or even before you go. Who knows? Maybe you'd like to start collecting some fabrics now before you leave on a trip, and you can add to it later. So the main thing is we want to make you happy, and we want to entertain you with our wide selection of novelty and wildlife and nature fabrics. So I hope that you find exactly what you're looking for. I hope it makes you smile. And that's all for now.